Well, the tradition of me praising Stellar Blade on this channel, it doesn't stop. Never stops. Because Stellar Blade, obviously it's getting its PS5 port over to the PC, I should say, because it was a PS5 game, so they're porting it to PC, and that is coming out when I talk about this on June 11th of 2025. So a little ways out, but not too far at all. Now that said, one thing I think is really cool, no matter when you're watching this, is the fact that they did reveal that there's going to be 25 extra costumes on PC, and a lot of people were like, oh, that sucks. But then it was confirmed that those costumes are also coming in a free update to the PS5 version, which, by the way, I don't know the exact number. I believe it was like 74 or 75 costumes. But when you actually look at it, this essentially means that there's going to be around 100 costumes in this game, no matter what version of the game you're playing on. Now, I guess I'm assuming as well that you will have picked up the Nikke and the other Nier DLC, which are kind of smaller and pretty inexpensive. But regardless, that does mean that with all of this said and done, we're at around 100 costumes in this game. So I want to take a look at why this actually matters for a couple minutes here today, because a lot of games are not doing anything near what this game has done in terms of putting back into its community. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts, but I do have a question today for you today, which is, can you think of another game, it could be an RPG or any genre, that has done as well or as right by its fandom and by the people who enjoy it, actually taking their opinions into account when you're making, your game and updating it and stuff like that? It was actually giving out free content over and over and over to your players. One of the only ones I can think of that is anywhere near this level of attention to detail for actually giving back would be something like Insomniac's Spider-Man 1. And even there, you did have a similar thing going on where some suits were free, some weren't, but there were quite a few post-game suits that were free for a very, very long time in that game. And I think it's really cool to see. Now, here's the thing. At the end of the day, why does this matter? Is it just because shotgun approaching more content means your game is good? No. I think we can all agree that just because you have a big game or just because you shove a bunch of content in it, it doesn't mean that it's good. And in fact, some of the outfits in the game, I would argue, are not going to be for everybody. Some of them are extremely skimpy, some of them are extremely covering, but when it comes down to it, fashion is taste-based. Okay, there's going to be maybe my favorite outfit in the game. One of you might look at it and say, wow, that's tacky and stupid. And that's okay. And that's kind of where I think something like this is important, is if your game values customization, which I think many console games have struggled with doing, you want to give people options that can suit their different tastes. And so when you're doing something like this, where after the fact, you're saying, hey, look, this sold insanely well, and we're going to be adding 25 new unique costumes and outfits to our game, and also it's going to be on PC, and we're going to add those in a free patch back in PS5, even though we don't get any money for doing so. We're not being paid to, it's not like we're getting paid for these costumes or anything. I think that's insanely player friendly, because they could have charged $10, $15 for these. People would have bought them. But they did point out during the development process and after for Shift Up that it was important to them to not nickel and dime this game with microtransactions. Obviously, when it comes to crossovers, there is going to be, like some pay, because it's like they're not going to eat the cost on getting a license to use another game like, Nier, and then they're just going to be like, oh, well, we've had to pay thousands of dollars for that. Well, here you go, it's free. Obviously, they're still a business, but I think it's really cool to see a lot of the things that are in Shift Up's control that they could have charged people for, they just actively chose not to. How often do you see that in business? I mean, some people would literally call that bad business, like it's bad for the business to not do it, but I disagree, because I think very few companies nowadays understand goodwill. They don't understand building morale with the people you're selling to. In fact, they don't care. Because to a lot of companies, there's so many people out there that, oh, you have a problem with it? Well, too bad. The guy next door is going to buy 5 of it. F off. And that's kind of like the way that they look at you as someone who's playing a game, or you as someone who's watching a movie. You know, it's like you're a disposable number. Now, I think that mindset has caused a lot of things to crumble over time because it works for so long. You know, it only works for so long until enough people give up on the thing, and then you're losing money. But in general, it is like a modern day attitude I think we've seen from a lot of companies. And Shift Up, I would argue, is the exact opposite of that in gaming. You know, and I think one of the reasons why is because Kim Hyung-tae was a very talented artist before he even, you know, worked at this studio. You know, before he actually pushed Shift Up and made this character of Eve and made this world with this talented team, he was someone who was actually making art, drawing things, you know, bringing things to life from his imagination. He's not some bureaucratic executive who only understands cut everything out from the bottom line, pay the workers as little as possible, maximize profit so I can buy my third yacht and, like, you know, get a bunch of affairs going. He's not like that kind of guy, which I'd argue business is full of that kind of guy and girl and whatever. You know, business is full of selfish people who only care about lining their pocket. And yet, guess what? Kim Hyung-tae has gotten rich off of this game while giving things to the players, while doing things like giving the Shift Up staff PS5s as a bonus, you know, like a $500 machine, a US dollar. These kinds of things are crazy. Like, you don't see this kind of celebration of your craft. I mean, I'm not getting hired anywhere, but I will say this, if I was going into working in video games and, like, I was shopping for companies, I would want to work here. How many companies can you say that about, just in general? And I don't mean, oh, I like what they make, so I want to work here. You can say that about anywhere. Like, oh, I like some of the people there. I like the end product. Sure. But what about actually, like, I feel valued? The customer is valued. The customer is treated as part of the process and valued after the fact. The workers, the people who design the thing and make it run, are valued. That's the kind of culture I think Shift Up is pushing in the video game atmosphere. And it's something that I think personally, even if there are companies that do it, a lot of them are smaller or more indie based. And we don't see the big boys doing this kind of thing. You know, we don't see Activision or EA or Ubisoft treating their people this way. We don't see them treating the people who helped make their studio rich, like, you know, the consumer. We don't see them treating them that way either. We just kind of see like a constant product consumption, ignore feedback loop. And so to see this in gaming, I think it's very important. It's like, it's important from the aspect of giving people customization options, especially because PC will always have mods, so it will always have more. So when you're looking at this, I think one thing they wanted to do was future-proof this and say, yeah, there'll be mods. There'll be Eve running around in a sling bikini or a micro bikini or in, you know, your grandma's sweater vest or whatever. But at the end of the day, there's still an amazing selection of costumes for the player base who helped push the sales of this in the first place on the PS5. We're trying to not give them a product or a piece of art that is unfinished, that is lacking in content, and just give it more to the next people who are going to pay us. They could have done that too. They could have said, hey, refunds have passed, you know, you're not getting your money back. Let's make these 25 costumes exclusive to PC. But they didn't, because they said, you know what? Those people on PS5 helped make this game as successful as it is. They also should be getting that content. And there's very few companies I see who view their customers as part of the process in this way and treat their employees, customers, all these different things with respect, like they actually matter. This should be what other video game studios look to and strive to be like. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this video, you want to leave a like, subscribe, I appreciate that very, very much. Discount code DJAY123, by the way, will get you 10% off your first purchase over on cosmobunny.shop, our store, coasters, keychains, trays, and more. We make them from recycled paper, from comics, magazines, and more that have been damaged. Take those things, transform them, give them new life, and make something new for your home out of that. And we appreciate you, and we recycle the rest. So I hope you have a fantastic day. Big ups to Stellar Blade and to Shift Up, Kim Hyung-tae, all these people. What a great company. Genuinely, like, this made me download their mobile game. This made me want to play whatever their next game is. I'm just interested in their work because I don't feel like just a number to them. And, you know, maybe some of it is Like, I know they can't go around and like personally visit and care about every single person who buys their game, but like this is what brand loyalty was supposed to be, was like the company does things for you when you do things for them, and then you want to buy from them again. And it seems like they're one of the only companies who still understand that in the modern day, which is crazy to me. But again, maybe it's because it was, you know, an artist at the head of it and not some detached businessman. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.